Well, hello. Good evening. Welcome to When Wisdom Talks. I'm Alisha.
And I'm Kadesha.
And I'm Naomi, and welcome to When Wisdom Talks. Happy Thursday. Just wanted to welcome you all to another episode of our lovely show with the Wisdom on the Wall trio. And we're just so happy once again to be here with you. And you already know we have a great show planned out. And what do I say every week? I'm not going to step on Kadesha's toes. She's going to tell you all about it. But what I will tell you is the mission of our show, which is to empower women and men to live better and wiser through engaging discussions, fun activities, and inspiring special guest interviews, much like the one we have tonight. This episode and all other episodes are sponsored by Be Inspired Global and Wisdom on the Wall. So with that, I'm just going to pass it on over to Kadesha.
I'm excited about tonight, as I am every night, especially when we have special guests. And so one of the things that we want to do is make sure we invite more men on to impart wisdom to our community, because men are wise too, ladies. And so we're looking forward to our guests tonight. And so this month we have been talking about free to be ... And so we've been allowing you to fill in the blank. But specifically tonight, we are free to be effective communicators with the opposite sex. And so we have a good friend on who's going to give us a male perspective on how we can be better communicators, because I don't know about you, but if you're not married, Alisha, then you want to learn ahead of time, right? And don't be trying to learn on the job like I'm doing. So I am super duper looking forward to the conversation, to the dialogue that we're going to have, the transparency, and listening to our good friend's experience and wisdom. But before we get into that, you know, I have to ask you to do a few things for us. Go ahead and like. If you have not already liked our page, go ahead and like the When Wisdom Talks Facebook page. Go ahead and like our YouTube page, as well as our Instagram. And then go ahead and share it. It takes, I always tell you, 2.5 seconds to go ahead and share the show. We want to encourage, inspire, uplift, impart, and be a cheerleader, and more for some of our viewers. So go ahead and share that. Remember that we are empowering and encouraging 3 days a week, okay? So a sister be tired. By the time we get to Thursday, we tired. But on Monday nights, we have our pop-up prayer call. Yes, Monday nights at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, pop-up prayer call. Thank you so much, Naomi, or what we call her, our chief technical director, officer, who knows, but the girl be handling all the things backstage. Okay. And so she has the phone number there for you with the code that you can join in on Monday nights and on Wednesday mornings at 6 a.m. We have an empowerment prayer call, which we are doing. You can call it Bible for breakfast. So we are giving you something to eat on. and something to keep you going and keep you inspired throughout the day. And then, of course, we're here every Thursday, 8 p.m. Hasn't changed for the last few months. We've been right here. And so we appreciate when you tune in with us, and not just tune in, but comment. So sometimes Naomi may go ahead and pop your name up, and who knows, you may be on the screen with us. So go ahead and comment, share your experiences, and tell us what you like and what you love about the show as well. We also have a book, Wisdom on the Wall, and you can purchase that at wisdomonthewall.com. If you want to connect with us, partner with us, advertise with us, tell us how much you love us, tell us how much you hate us, whatever. You can do that at info@wisdomonthewall.com. So I think I covered everything. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on over to Alisha.
Woohoo! Thank you much. And yes, I am the single one in the bunch. Thanks for
now.
Yeah, I like that for now. But no, so that makes tonight even more special for me because I will be equipped for when my Boaz show up. So, hey. Awesome. But no, I'm always excited. And we are at our Girl, What's Your Story with a twist segment. And again, this is just a time for us to share a little bit about what it is that we've been doing over this past week since the last time we saw you all. And the twist, hopefully you know by now, is we want to hear about what you've been doing because we all are adventurous to a certain extent. So we like to read and hear about what it is that you're doing, and we may even embark on that endeavor. So please, when we say share, we are serious. Share with us. So I'll go ahead and get us started because mine is going to be short and sweet. This week has been, an interesting week for me. So let's just put it that way. But my Girl Wish Your Story tonight is about a TV show that I've been able to kind of get bits and pieces of, and I finally was able to see the first episode with 10 minutes here and there of the past few days, but it's actually entitled When Nature Calls. And it comes on, actually it's literally on while our show is on. So I had to watch it on the replay. And for those of you who may decide that you want to watch it, don't watch it live. You're going to have to watch it, either, what is that, DVR it, whatever that is, do that, or I do it on demand with Verizon. So whatever way you're going to watch it after the fact, okay? So long as we are here with that. Okay. But any event is When Nature Calls, and is actually following all the animals like in their habitat. But the funny thing about it, because I have to find something funny. And the funny thing about it is that how animals make different faces and they look funny in different ways. Well, they actually have voiceovers, human voices, and they actually kind of put it through scenarios as if is a human being interaction, and you will fall on the floor from laughter. And I was debating whether or not I was going to try to give you a little taste of it, so I'm gonna try. Hopefully, it will work. But this particular one, they were somewhere in the world, and they were actually filming these monkeys. They were some type of monkeys, but they were on the side of a cliff. And one of them, the way they had it was he was the husband, and then there was another one who was the wife, who had like her hair was standing up, kind of like a box, and they had on her back was their little son. So the husband had this twig, and he's sticking it in a crack, along that whole crevice. And the wife is saying, and I can't remember his name, but it was something like Edgar. She was like, Edgar, I think you need to call in a specialist for that. We need a pro to do that. And he's like, we don't need no pro. I can do this. And he's sticking this twig in this crevice, and the twig breaks. And so she's like a real woman would do. And she's like, I told you we need a pro. And he's like, I told you, and I don't need a pro. And he goes against this other one, and it does the same thing. And then finally she just walks off. She's going away. And then he ends up saying, I guess we need a pro, like kind of like that whole dynamic. And I thought it was so cute because our whole thing is communication. And we were talking about, men and women. So that was the male monkey and the female monkey. And it was funny. So like I said, if you want a good laugh, do your video on demand or what have you. And it's called When Nature Calls, and it's on ABC. Sorry, ABC. And you'll be laughing. So
And
That
that's
was
what I was going to ask you what channel
yeah,
it came on. Okay, so ABC.
ABC. Yes, yes. Too
Okay.
funny.
And actually, we may need to change this segment. Like, boy, what's your story? Okay, because we got a male on here today, so we don't want to be offensive.
I
But
know, right?
but no, that's funny. My sister likes watching what is it, Animal Planet. I mean, she loves all things animals and
Oh,
how they build their habitat and all that craziness. And
oh, bless her
uh,
heart. Okay.
mhm. But speaking of sis, so my something, what is it? Something new that I did this week was help sis get into her new home. And this was like a huge deal. One, because we never, even my mom, my sis, or me had never owned anything growing up. We were professional renters, if you will. And so it was just groundbreaking because that curse, honey, has been broken. And now we are all homeowners, and we are prayerfully will instill that into my nephews, into my children when they get here, and just to our family as a whole. And so, but one, just knowing my sister's story, like, and it was one of those things. So, anytime you have to cross, like, go over a mountain, it's always something. I mean, literally, like, it was addenda after addenda, like, sign this, do this, jump 3 times, turn around 3 times, like, up into the point where we didn't even know we were going to be closing on that day until like late afternoon. So it just was all those different emotions. And so once I finally got the text from my lender that we will be closing, I was with Jane, and I just broke out in tears because I just thought about, how they just say, think about all the things that God has done for you. And I just was really thinking about and being a witness to everything I have seen and witnessed in my sister's life, and in terms of living and just moving around, and at times just didn't have places. I mean, it's just really been, it's her testimony to tell, but it's like, it just was emotional, and I lost it. And so, but I lost it early on. So by the time I got to the settlement, I was fine. But by the time I got there, late as I was, but because I had to take Jean to the airport doing too much, but she was in tears. So I was at least able to have it together. So by the time she was in tears, and so it just was a beautiful thing. And we celebrated as a family this week or that weekend, and came over, and it's like, I don't know. I can't explain it, but I'm just an avid believer that everybody deserves to know what it feels like to be a homeowner, particularly people in our community. Like, it does something to your pride, to your confidence, like to your self-esteem, all of that. So we crossed over as a family. All of us are homeowners. I'm excited. And I'm even more excited for my sister to have a place to call hers. So that was my something new this week. Yes.
Congratulations. That is so huge.
Yeah.
I responded to the picture you posted on social media, but it's inspiring because there are a lot of families who are incidentally in the same position. And so to be able to see another family doing this makes it possible, and makes it feel and seem possible. So
Right.
hats off to you and your family.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well, I'm gonna follow in the funny story path that Alisha carved out for us tonight. My daughter, I love her. I am convinced that she has been here before. I've said this very often. One time she was singing to the top of her lungs, "Lean on Me," and I can't even figure out where she heard it, but she was singing to the top of her lungs. So the other day, my sweet daughter. Now, this is a testament to the fact that your children are always watching you, right? So my sweet daughter, she says to me, "Mommy, I think I need to borrow your knee brace." And I'm thinking to her, what in the world? And I think I hurt myself playing, and I think I need to put it on so I can take down some of the swelling. These were her words. Her words. I say, you know what? I think she has been here before. but really children are paying attention to everything you do. And I just thought that was so cute that we have to really be careful what we do, what we say, and how we act around them. But yes, I fell out laughing when she said, listen, never a dull moment in the Burrell household. But she asked me for that knee brace. I said, what? I think I hurt myself and I need to take down some of the swelling. I was like, you are 10, young lady. 10, not 110. You're 10.
She's really your mini me, that's for sure.
Mini me, absolutely. So that's my story. There's never a dull moment in the Burrell household, and I'm sticking to it.
I so love it. That's her story, and she's sticking to it. Love it. Well, thank you, ladies, for sharing, and I'm going to thank you all in advance for sharing in the chat what you've been up to as well. And I'm excited. We're going to just turn this right over to Kadesha to take us into the next segment.
Woohoo! Yay. I'm excited. So we have Mr. Charles Chapman, who is a good friend of mine and really a supporter of all things Live on Purpose and all things Wisdom on the Wall. I believe Charles and I met through one of my events. He came down to Delaware, I believe. And we've just had like a brother-sister relationship since then. And so we are excited about him and the wisdom that he's going to give us tonight on effective communication and how he communicates, right, with the opposite sex. And so Charles is a hard worker. He works at the post office. So you know what? If you missing any mail, go ahead and call Charles. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, he's a hard worker and he is very dedicated and devoted to his family. I had the privilege of meeting, I believe, his mom and a few of his aunts one time. We're so random in Baltimore. And he actually is a student. So he is furthering his education. And y'all know I was about to pitch him as a single man, but new news to me, he is recently engaged. So I'm excited. He is a believer, a woman. Why I keep calling him woman? A man of faith. Sorry, Charles. And he is going to be getting married soon or later, whatever they decide. But nonetheless, ladies, he's not on the market. So I'm sorry. Go ahead. Next. He is spoken for, but he is a wise man. And so he has some wisdom. And so after this video, we're going to bring him out to impart some wisdom to us. Naomi always has us jamming on the videos. Hey, Charles, how are you?
Pretty good. How y'all ladies doing?
Wonderful. Welcome.
Yes. Welcome to the When Wisdom Talks show.
Right.
Thank you for being here, interrupting your schedule and making a sacrifice. We are so grateful.
Oh, it's all good. And if the mail is late, it is not my fault.
That is funny. You know, it is getting a little better, but that pandemic, honey, that thing was backed up something serious. But, you know, we gave y'all grace. At least some of us did.
Appreciate it. We need all y'all prayers for sure.
He said that's what you really needed, our prayers, right?
Yes, indeed.
But we wanted to, on this show, we wanted to talk about, effective communication between men and women. And I think that's something, particularly in the African American community, that we could, do a little bit better on, right? And build the family by building our communication skills. So we're, again, grateful that you're joining us. And we're always looking for the male perspective, although it's your perspective, right? We we putting the men on your back. So, but yeah, so we just want to have a dialogue about, effective communication. So let's just hop right on in. And, or before we get in, is there anything else you want to say to the people? Anything else you want them to know about you?
Just pretty much, like you said, I am a hard worker. I have a lot of experience in dating. I've been out there, and I've made some mistakes, which has imparted a lot of wisdom in me. So, I'm speaking from the heart.
I like that, because I think sometimes we think we always have to be perfect, but really the lessons come in the mistakes and the failures that we make. So I appreciate you being honest about that. So what would you say, or, what are the biggest difference between how men and women communicate?
From my experience, I would say that women are more colorful. They're more detailed. For myself and most men that I know, we just kind of like to get straight to the point. It's sort of like shopping. When I go to the mall, I know exactly what I want. So I already have a pretty much a mindset of what I want, where women, when they go to the mall, they just kind of like to float around and they kind of like to be more detailed and more specific, where men, we're kind of just like in and out. And in communication, we're sort of the same way. The only thing about that is that causes a lot of conflict, I believe. And also it causes a lot of miscommunication at times, because sometimes we perceive things differently by kind of wanting to cut the conversation short. And that's usually the issues that I have when it comes to communicating with women,
We might as well go ahead and pass the offering bucket, okay? Because that right there was a word. I mean, it really is. It's true.
Right.
We can be long-winded.
Yes.
We want to tell you the whole day on how it went from 8 a.m. until 8 p.m. And you just tell me what you did at lunch.
Right.
So, but I like the word choices. I love the colorful.
I'm with you on that. I was going to mention that.
I love that, because we are.
Right. Well, I will say that one of my good friends, Mr. Bruce Moore, he's been married, I believe, 50 years. Wow. So he gave me that tip. So that word colorful, I got to send a shout out to him, because he gave me that word colorful. He always told me his wife is very colorful.
Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Yes, exactly.
Look, with all my colors on too. But what was the other word? What was the other word he used, Alisha? It was colorful and
detail.
I'm gonna write those down. Okay.
I would use that word colorful. So like when somebody says something, I'm like, I'm just colorful. What you talking about? Just being colorful.
Yeah, because y'all like to paint the picture. And like I said, but at the same time, a man also has to be mature enough to understand that. And a lot of times we like to just say, well, women are this, women are that. But also that woman is strengthening you as well, because without communication, what else do you have?
I think
No, go ahead, Alisha.
I was just going to say, and that key word there was maturity, because what you just said, a male has to be mature enough to be able to see that. Like you said, the woman is strengthening. So, if she's being colorful, she's kind of helping him in a certain area to make him be a little more colorful. So yes, I think that's a mature way to think of it and look at it as, she's helping you to mature and be a little better. So thank you for saying that.
Most definitely. Because, I mean, look, I have to be real. I mean, I struggled a lot with that because of my immaturity, the thing is that a lot of times it's easy to just say that all women are this way, or you know how she is, or is it that time of the month? But the reality of it is that, to be in a healthy relationship, you really have to be like Christ. Christ didn't come, with all this pride and all this boasting, and those things that we read about in Scripture. They are it's real. And as Christians, I know we like to just say, yeah, the Bible is this, the Bible that, but the reality of it is that you have to really live it out. And when you're dealing with a woman, a for real woman at that, you got to come correct, and that's just reality of it. And a lot of us men, we struggle. We really do struggle at that.
Like that for real woman, a for real woman.
Yeah, most definitely. Because not all women are queens, and I'm not trying to be offensive to some women, but that's the reality of it. Every woman is not this queen on a pedestal.
I love it.
Not yet. They haven't raised the bar yet.
And they have to go through training.
Right, because it takes maturity on both ends. But
absolutely.
When you meet someone that's going to challenge you, you have to be mature enough to handle that.
We have a comment from Kendra
about
being colorful. So it says, when my husband and I go to the mall or thrift store for me, he knows how colorful I am, so he decides that he will sit on the bench outside and wait for me, or in the car, but he knows that I like to seriously browse. But I love the fact that he decides to be there with me anyway.
Oh, that's sweet.
It's funny, as you were sharing that, it made me think. I think every one of us can remember a time where we're in a store and that man is like sitting outside the fitting room and he has the pocketbook. So now when we see him, we're like, he's with a colorful wife or whoever, a woman, and he's just doing his due diligence. So loved it.
That made me think about the episode of Martin. I think when Martin was with Gina and they had like mad bags, and it just was hilarious.
Well, now at the malls they had a massage chair, so that's
yes.
Yeah. So they sit in the massage chair with the pocketbook.
Right.
What is Tanya saying?
She said, new word for my communication vocabulary. A mature response can be developed by establishing an understanding between both parties. Many factors involved: value system, experience, personalities.
I love it. So kind of like speaking to that point a bit, what do you think women need to know when it comes to, right timing in terms of communicating with the special man in her life?
The right timing. Well, I will say you have to make time for that, because sometimes the wrong time can be when we're watching sports. or when we first come in from, say, a long day of work. Those are the wrong times to kind of get into deep conversations. I think you also have to make time and sit time for that. Unfortunately, in life, things progress so fast that we don't always have the perfect time to have conversations. So I would say you have to just go into the flow of it. But like I say, after a long day of work, it's probably not the best time. No, that's good.
Yeah. I guess kind of along with that, to kind of probe a little deeper with that, what would you say would be some of the cues that a woman could take from that man to know that this is not the time, not good time to communicate right about now? What are some cues that you all give off that sometimes we don't read right?
It could be body language. It could be facial expression. Because if we're looking our way while you're talking, then that's a good sign that we're probably not paying much attention.
So get the hint, okay?
Because a lot of times, men, we just process things a little differently. And I never thought that was true until I started experiencing that for myself. So usually body language, eye contact, and just basically I guess feeling that person's energy. If you know it's not a good time, it's probably not a good time.
That's good. If it feels like it, you're right.
I was going to say that a lot can be resolved just by paying attention. But a lot of times, because we're so in need of getting off what's on our chest, we fail to pay attention. But a lot could be resolved just by paying attention, body language, all that kind of stuff.
Right. But I will say, like I said, once again, the man has to also be mature enough to understand his lady. And that's why it's important to learn the individual. And And so, like I said, I'm not putting all the onus on the women. I think the men also have to understand that, this woman needs to get it off her chest, more than us.
Yeah. And I think one way that, and I think we may have talked about this before in our last show, it's about making sure we at least write it down or put it in our phone so we at least remember what we want to talk about when the time is right. Or email it to ourselves, you know what I mean? So that way we can flush it through. Okay, let me see how this is going to come across. How is this going to come? How's he going to receive that? But I think for us, it's just about getting it out. So we may not have to say it, but maybe we can write it real quick while you're watching your TV show. I'm going to be writing down all my little points. I'm going to tell you all. But, and then by the time I think about it, or maybe when the time is right, I don't have to say all of this, but I just needed to get some of it out. But I think it's important for us to have a safe space. I know for me, we have a text group for our married ladies. And so, before we go to our husbands with something, we can at least run it past the group and, make sure we get the gist of it out there and then hopefully come correct when it comes to our hubbies. But
that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
As we were talking about this, it made me kind of think about, Charles, maybe you can give us some tips on this in terms of those hard, difficult conversations, whether it's about money or kids or I don't know, but those difficult conversations that people end up having to have. What would you say to women in terms of what tips you could give us of how to handle those type of conversations?
Money. That's something that I've experienced. Once again, I would definitely say do not ever compare our relationship to another relationship. Don't ever say, well, my friend husband does this, or some other guy on television or whatever, Instagram, whatever, Facebook does this for his woman. I think for most men, that right there is a huge no-no. So when it comes to our relationship, it's how we operate, not how he or she operates outside of in their world. Just keep it within how we do things. So I think when it comes to that situation, that's definitely something that is a must. Children, I don't have any children right now, but that's something that I will experience when that time when it comes to babies. But it's definitely, I would say, from other people that I know who do have children, that has a lot to do with the upbringing of both individuals. And so you have to see how what works best on how you two will raise your children.
That was good. And you mentioned one part about, like you said, not comparing it to someone else. And I think sometimes as women, we probably think, and this is just maybe my thought about it, but you seem like you may be kind of tempering it by putting it on somebody else, where you say, well, I saw this happen over there, or I was watching this and this happened. So as a female, that might be our thought process. And well, if I temper it, instead of me saying, this is what we need to do. I think that's probably why we kind of come from that angle sometimes. Maybe.
Yeah. I don't like it.
Charles, like, I don't care what you're saying. Don't try to use it over. It ain't working.
Well, I would say good advice is always great. But I think it's just to me it depends on how it's delivered. That's very important. It's not always what you say, it's how you say it. So I think that once again, it just depends on how you women are, how y'all put it on the table when it comes to money. And so, the same thing with us too, but money is it can be a very sensitive topic if you allow it to be. And it's just a tool. We always have to remember that, money is just a tool.
We have a question from our audience. Charles, what mistakes have you made that have given you the wisdom you have now?
what mistakes I have made. I made so many, but I would say one would probably be ignoring, being passive and letting things slide in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I think being passive is definitely not good. Being too aggressive is not good, but being assertive is good. So I would definitely say ignoring early signs that are detrimental to a relationship.
That's
Not
good.
Tanya, she said something that I thought was interesting too. She said tone and pitch of delivery can be huge, which we kind of talked about a bit too.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Because like you say, if you're talking about money, and all of a sudden she said, "Well, look, well my girlfriend, husband, he don't, he pay everything, and that, if it come off like that, then you're like, oh okay, oh boy, that can definitely create some kind of hostility.
That's good. And I also think body language has a lot to do with it too, in that piece too, whereas my girlfriend versus
Right.
so that really makes a difference. You
Right.
mentioned body language earlier, so I wanted to throw that one in there.
Yes.
Oh my goodness, I love it. So what do you think men wish they knew about us, and how, I guess in turn, just us in general, and maybe, how we communicate?
Just how to make peace, because a lot of times when we go through issues, I know for me, the first thing I want to do is just make peace and kind of move on. And okay, like for me, for instance, I could say, look, I'm sorry, that won't happen again. And I think it's cool, but then it's like, that ain't enough. So it's like, okay, well, what if, we just, go out, talk about it, and just, try to move on from it. But then it's like, well, that's not enough. And it's like, okay, well, what do I have to do to kind of make this thing right? So I would say just how to make peace and just move on. But like I said, women, sometimes y'all don't some women just don't let things go. And that can be frustrating for us. We just move on and keep it moving.
Mm-hmm. And I think in some cases, depending on the severity of it, it may take more time than others. But I mean, for the most part, I think that does come with a spirit of maturity as well, knowing how to agree to disagree and then move on. I mean, the Bible definitely tells us not to go to bed angry and things of that nature. And so, and it does help too to have different personality types. One person may be more serious, one person may be the comedy person, and so hopefully that person can bring some comic relief. But I think it just really takes time getting to know that individual on how they respond to different scenarios, and knowing, okay, we'll give them 3 hours or 3 minutes. I was actually at Alicia's church. This was all pandemic, pre-COVID. But one of the things I loved about the couple there was, I forget the time limit, and maybe Alisha may remember, but they gave each other, was it 1 minute or 3 minutes or something like that, to be upset because he was a police officer. And so they never wanted him to leave the house upset, because in that profession, you just never know if he's going to come back. And so I think that was very healthy, to have, okay, look, we got 3 minutes. And after that 3 minutes, let's come back to loving one another. Because at the end of the day, you got to remember that the person you're with is on your side. It's not your enemy, So
that's good.
She can be your soulmate or your cellmate.
I never heard that one. That's cute.
Tanya, who's joining us from YouTube, I have to add that because we do have some YouTube followers. So shout out to all our YouTubers. Tanya said, do you feel that your peers experience many of the same types of issues with communication?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's most definitely. Like I said, most of my friends are married, man. And a lot of them tell me pretty much the same thing. And I'm not going to put their names out there because they could be watching. But a lot of them pretty much tell me that when it comes to communication, that when you get married, the things that you do when you're single and dating, it don't always just get better just because you get married. So it's best to establish and kind of set grounds early on. So yes, most definitely.
We have a funny comment. Oh,
go ahead.
Want to go ahead, Alisha?
Real quickly, I was just going to say, now I just lost my train of thought. You go right ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry. These comments, so shout out to our audience because these comments or questions are rolling in. Thank you all. So that means y'all are really enjoying yourself. But we have a funny comment from Belinda who said, my friend said when a woman say to him about talk to him about money, he tells them to then go be with them then. That's how arguments start, see? That's exactly how them arguments start.
It's like, all right, you talking about them, you go be with them. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that is a recipe for argument. It might be a fist fight too. It's like,
yeah, but that's not good. Because women some women seem to have a response mechanism in them. So men, when we say certain things, we have to be extremely careful. I'm not sure if that person was saying that jokingly or if that was for real, like he really meant that. But you just have to be careful with our words. The word of God do say we're going to be judged for every word that we speak out of our mouth. So that can't be taken too lightly.
So I think my question came back. It was kind of it came from what Tanya was asking, but do guys really talk a lot about relationships when y'all together? Like, what do y'all talk about? I just want to be like a little fly on the wall.
Oh yeah, we talk about marriage, relationships. Because like I said, the brothers who are in my circle, I'm pretty much one of the few single guys. So men still talk about relationships, marriage, how to keep the relationship going. So yeah, we talk just as much as y'all.
Okay, just checking. Miracle Mo.
Yep, he chimed in and said this is a most needed topic. So that's another fella who's in agreement with you.
And a former guest on our show.
Yes.
Hey Mo. That is awesome. So what are some, or what could a woman do to get the man in her life to open up about some important things, right? Because again, these are things that we have to discuss. So how can we get y'all to open up a little bit?
Well, I'm gonna be deep about that. I think one of the things that is very important is the way that most men were raised. Because women have to understand that most men were not raised by men, and not to make an excuse or anything, but it's just the real. And then when you're raised by your mother, being a man is not something that's just going to come because you are a man. You have to be around that. And I think a lot of times women have to understand, it goes back to the comparison thing, is that you can't just assume that all men are just Superman, so to speak, or what the media, the perception is on us. Like there's some things we may not have knowledge of, or we may not understand. So I think if a woman kind of understands the upbringing and just his whole dynamic, then I think it makes us very comfortable to know that she's not judgmental or she's not beating us. Because like you said, when you're in a relationship, that has to be your comfort zone. So I think as long as if she understands that and that she has your back, oh man, we'll open up completely.
I mean, I agree with you 100%. I think that helped me to understand my husband better, knowing his upbringing, knowing, he was raised by his stepfather, but then still had a relationship with his biological father. So seeing those different dynamics and how those play out and how he communicates and how he interacts and things of that nature. But it also gave me, I guess, a leg up in terms of what to pray for, right? So if I see certain things that have already played out in his family, then it gave me an area in which, okay, I can at least target this in prayer. You know what I mean? So I think that's key, like understanding where they came from, how they communicated, who they was raised by, and vice versa for us, right? So understanding that's how we operate as well based off of our upbringing as well.
Right. So to me, I just think that's just very important.
Mm-hmm.
Understand that individual.
Yeah. So as we prepare to close, you want to read the comment, Naomi?
Yes, Miracle Mo said, absolutely. Me and homies talk about relationships all day long.
I love it. Thanks both for being honest. What would you say to the men out there and the women? What would be your closing words, your words of wisdom to us watching?
Words of wisdom would definitely be, well, first of all, seek God in everything. God comes first in everything. And also, just take time to, I would say read 1 Corinthians, I believe 13, where it talks about love. Love is kind. Love doesn't, bring up the past and all those other things. So I would say if you're going to be in a relationship, please make sure that you're willing to not, it's not going to be all about you. And sometimes when you look to serve the other person will also look to serve you. So that's my closing words on wisdom.
That was good. That was good.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Right, because it's not about you. It's not all about you.
Yeah.
So.
Amen.
That's a hard lesson to learn. Woo-wee.
Yes.
That's a hard lesson to learn. That was so good, Charles. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to be back on. I like this. I like talking.
Look, we gotta put you in the lineup.
We got a regular.
Yeah, most definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, congratulations again on the engagement.
Thank you.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing tonight. Some great nuggets, that's for sure.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, enjoy your sleep, okay? And have a good night at work.
All right, I will. Thank y'all. Y'all be
safe.
back.
Bye-bye.
All right, you too.
We back.
Oh, I so enjoyed that. Oh my goodness.
I did too.
Yeah.
Enlightening.
You took the word right out of my mouth.
Look at that. We right there.
I was going to say too, refreshing, because he gave a very genuine, honest, mirror perspective on communication. But I like the way that he talked to both sides. He didn't just talk to the male perspective, but he also was gracious to us women.
Yeah.
In the process.
Like, I think we're all taking that colorful word away with us.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It was perfect. We always trying to figure out how to put these shows together, and knowing that God already has the perfect plan. So it was perfecto for sure.
Woo! Thank you,
our expectations.
Yes. I love it. Well, we moving and grooving to the next segment or what?
Yeah, we actually had some tell me something good. We got a little bit of time for that.
Yeah.
Oh, how I've missed this segment. We haven't been able to do it. So for old time's sake, tell me something good.
I love it.
It's our opportunity to share now what we've heard on the news, on social media, or share some kind of health tip or something good that we came across. So with that, who's going to go first?
I'm going to go ahead and kick us off. I'll kick us off. So I guess my story is a modern day version of the Jonah and the well story that you probably heard back in Sunday school, and probably at that age didn't think it was real. But no, this is serious. This actually happened just a few weeks ago. A gentleman by the name of Michael Packard, he was doing his normal job, which is actually diving for lobsters off of Cape Cod and in Massachusetts. And let me just tell you, this story has been verified because I'm gonna tell you, I was not a believer when I heard this story. But anyway, he was actually like 45 feet deep in the water, getting his little lobsters. And then he said, in his own words, all of a sudden he felt something hit him, and then it went dark. And he said, when he came to, he thought he was inside the mouth of a white shark, because if you've seen the reports, on the news, they've been circling around that area. And he said he was able to realize that there were no teeth in there, and he realized he was in the mouth of a whale. Now, I'm being honest, I was kind of like, this can't be for real, but it has been verified by the authorities. So in any event, once he realized he was in there, he's like, oh my God, like, what do I do at this point? Because his whole thought was he's still in the mouth. So he's like, am I going to be swallowed or am I going to suffocate? Because his mouth was closed. And he said all he could do was start thinking about his wife. He started thinking about his 2 children and his mother and the rest of his family. And he's just like, he knew he couldn't bust himself out of there. Like, how you going to beat yourself out of a humpback whale? But in any event, he said all of a sudden he see this light, and the whale starts shaking his mouth, and he flew out of the mouth of the whale, and he's floating on the surface of the water. And he's like, oh my God, like, I'm alive, I survived. And all he sees is the tail going down of the whale back in the water. And so his friend, like, thank God he was on a boat with somebody, and his friend was like following him, like, oh my God, this is happening. And his friend called the authorities, and even the authorities, they interviewed them, and they said they didn't believe it. They're like, who playing around, like, thinking that people are drunk or whatever. But when I thought about it, I immediately thought about Jonah and the whale. Like, this is a modern day version of this. And interestingly enough, he said he's going to go back and still do that. So when you talk about somebody who loves what they do, he's going back to do that. But all I can say is, like, shout out to you, Michael. God obviously still has some work for you. And I'm like, if he's not saved, hopefully he got saved then. Because I'm just like, come on now, surviving being in the mouth of a whale. So if you didn't believe Jonah and the whale, you have a real life modern day story that kind of shows that it does happen. And just in case you were wondering what kind of issues he had a dislocated knee and soft tissue issues. I would have thought he would have had a lot more, but that's what he had. So that's my story, and I'm sticking with it tonight. That was not something good.
Wow, that is something good, honey. And I just feel like that's just God trying to make some believers, honey, because that right there, woo, I'm like, and where was that located?
Cape Cod in Massachusetts.
Wow.
That's
amazing. Michael Packard.
That's amazing. It is. Naomi said it right. That is amazing. Yeah, I love it.
What you got?
So, do y'all remember Kevin Arnold?
No, the name's not ringing.
Kevin Arnold.
Do you remember the show The Wonder Years?
Oh yeah. The lead character.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, his real name Fred Savage, but in the show, Kevin Arnold.
Yeah.
So Mike and I guess it was last night and the night before, saw on TV that they're doing a modern version of The Wonder Years. And catch this, it's the black version.
Yeah.
And I was so like, the only word I can come up with was impressed. I mean, I was inspired because Fred Savage is the one who actually directed it. And they have about 4 executive producers, all which are black, with the exception of Fred Savage. And so I just feel like it's just paying homage to everything that we've been through as a community, as a race. And this, I don't know, to me, it was refreshing. At first I was like, me and Mike was like, where did they do that at? The Wonder Years? Because you know the song, right? So it's like the song is on the commercial and we see this little black boy. We like, what is going on here? And so it's supposed to air in the fall. This fall around September. And I think it's ABC. Of course, you can watch it on, I think, streaming websites and stuff like that. But I'm excited. So it's going to be very similar. Now, I wasn't like a faithful watcher of the Wonder Years, but I kind of remember the gist. I mean, it was just, middle-class family and just, telling the story of a young boy, but the adult version of the boy was the narrator. Mm-hmm. So in this case, they have Don Cheadle is going to be the narrator. So the adult version of, the little, and sorry, little black boy, I don't remember who's playing him, but nonetheless, we got a black version of the Wonder Years, and I'm excited about it.
I love it.
It's our time. I that's what I have been sensing just in general as our come up, even watching the Olympics, but it is the Black community's time and season. And that is our time to shine. It really is. And we should embrace it after all the years that our forefathers have suffered. This is our time. So I'm excited about that thing.
I am too. Well, God said the first will be last and the last will be first. So, we honor and love everybody.
Absolutely.
But it is our time to shine. So I'm excited about the Wonder Years. September. Let me get y'all the date. Hold up. Well, I'll tell y'all in a minute. Go ahead, Naomi.
Oh yeah, Don Cheadle is actually one of my favorite actors, so that's exciting. I love everything he's in. He doesn't do anything bad, as far as I'm concerned, as an actor. Yeah. But yeah, my story, y'all, is about an 11-year-old cowgirl. We made history. It's a couple of weeks old because I didn't get a chance to share it the other weeks, but it's still relevant nonetheless. So she's been competing at the first nationally televised Black rodeo, the undefeated. Courtney Solomon is a 4th-generation Texas cowgirl. Her mother is an 11-time invitational champion, and her father is a professional rodeo cowboy. I mean, it just runs in the family. So this young lady is keeping the legacy alive, and her grandfather was also an invitational rodeo board member. So it is all in the family. She is 11 years old. Her name is Courtney Solomon. I was so impressed when I saw that because it's not a typical thing, but let's just be honest. We everywhere. Okay. And a talented group of people. And I'm so excited to see how our territory is expanding everywhere. So to hear the story about an 11-year-old cowgirl, I was impressed to the point where I had to share it with my children. So that's my tell me something good. And I'm sticking to it.
So do we have time for what's the
Let's
point?
look at the time. We have about 4 minutes left. So
I don't know if that
one of us can share.
I think one of you need to, because something's going on with the sound. It's not sounding good. Does it sound weird on your end?
I would probably just have to do the little mute thing like we've been doing. That's been working for us, y'all. Thank y'all for bearing with us, audience, until we figured this thing out.
And thank God for the mute button.
Hallelujah.
Well, if we don't have time, I was just going to share a scripture. So,
sure.
And close it out with the effective communication. But no, Proverbs 16:24 says, kind words are like honey, sweet to the soul and healthy for the body. And I want to read one more. Proverbs 15:4. Gentle words bring life and health. A deceitful tongue crushes the spirit. And so I remember growing up, one of the things my dad would say to me is that you attract more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. And so if we're going to be effective communicators, y'all, we got to be like the bee, attracting the honey, but keep these scriptures in mind, that kind words are like honey, and so we want to, our honeys or your future honeys, you want to be sweet to them and bring them, build them up. And that's the power we have as women. We can, I love how Montreal says it, we can set the temperature in a room. So it's, how we respond and how we communicate to them is really that determines their response, the opposite sex. So
is that the whole thing about being the thermostat versus the thermometer? So we're the thermostat and set the temperature. So yeah.
So Charles taught us tonight. So I hope we were listening. I hope we took some notes. But we're so grateful for him and for all of our guests, but definitely for him giving us some wisdom tonight. So we're excited that you tuned in. As Naomi reminded us in the beginning, that this episode of When Wisdom Talks was brought to you by Wisdom on the Wall, our 501c3 that we're so proud of, and Be Inspired Global that we're also so proud to be in partnership with. Remember to just follow us and support us and connect with us throughout the week. On Monday nights, our pop-up prayer call. Wednesday mornings, our empowerment prayer call. And then, of course, back here Thursday, 8 o'clock. Go ahead and tell somebody. Tell somebody so they can tell somebody and they can tell somebody. And so we are just grateful to encourage you tonight. We pray that you had a great time, and we trust that you're going to be tuning in next week as well. So stay safe, ladies and gents, stay blessed, and of course, always stay in faith. Until next time.
So long.